My name is David Petersen, and today on the stream I'm going to be showing you guys my convention price stands, my table signage. I developed a way of making these that fold down flat, are pretty resilient, and have lots of replaceable parts. So I've wanted to do a video or a stream about these for a while, and because San Diego is coming up, I have a bunch of these to make, and I thought this would be the perfect time to go over that. So let me start with what they are. They are a combination of these Strathmore artist tiles and these Strathmore artist trading cards. The way I make them, I'll talk about their functionality first. These are the kind of things that would go on top of my books, on the table. They can be propped up inside the pages of books, on prints, that kind of thing, all to give whatever information I need. So for the most part, I use these as price cards. But sometimes I have information like here's where the Mouse Guard book series starts, or yes, we accept credit card, or things like that. So instead of just having a flat piece of paper that lays flat, I want this thing to be able to stand up. So I've made some, the white balance is getting blown out, there we go. I split one of those artist cards in half and then glued half of the half, and I'll go over this when I make new ones, to each side. There we go, that's how we can see it. And then a full artist card that's folded in such a way with a little notch taken out of it. That I make a little kickstand that slides just in like that, and then it can be displayed like so. There you can kind of see a little better on this camera. If I want this at a different angle, because it's on the edge of the table, I just have to slide this up a little higher, and it sits back further. It's that simple. The other nice thing about this design is you take out your kickstand, and you can put it in this way to store the kickstand so that it all stores flat. I have literally stacks of these that I use with different things already on them. And I can also take something like a book. I'll do this flat, but you'll get the idea. Take a book, and if this book was standing up, I can go a couple pages in, have that part of the kickstand just sticking out, and put it in like so, while it's still, standing for my display. Like that. I can use two of those kickstands. Let me grab another one from a different, of course the first couple ones I grabbed don't have them. Here we go. I can grab a second one and put that in, and then I can go over the edge of something like a print. Trying to find something that's a good. Let's say that this card here is a print. I can have it sit halfway on, halfway off, and display like that. So that's the benefit of using these. And I need to make some more. So I'm going to make some from scratch, and then I'm going to show you how I get the info on them, and how I can reuse them. So it starts with one of these 4-inch by 4-inch. They're called Strathmore artist tiles. I buy these by the pack. So we have a bunch of those. ready to go. I'm going to put those off to the side though because the work needs to be done on these artist trading cards. So first thing is they need to be split right down the middle. And of course, I don't have a line on my map, or on my cutting map, that's in the right place. So I'm going to make a little jig since I know I have a bunch of these to do. I need it to be at 1 1/4. And 1 1/4. Okay. I'm going to use a little blue painter's tape. And I'm going to tape my ruler down exactly where I need it. There we go. I'm also going to make a little line right here on the map so that I know that that's where I have to put all my trading cards. So I'll split a couple of these. I think I taped my ruler down a little snugly. Yep, it's a little too snug. And these don't have to be perfect. I'm being a little bit of a perfectionist here. Shane, welcome. And JC Kilpack, welcome. So I should probably just make, let's just do one more of these. I don't like how tight the ruler is down. So the next step is I'm going to sacrifice one of these. Do I even have some different? You know what? I had some Bristol board that I was cutting up yesterday. I can use that. All right, this is my gluing jig now. All I did was take a scrap sheet of Bristol and score it so that I could fold it where about half of the piece I just cut is exposed. And I'm going to use some glue stick. I'm going to get one of my 4x4 tiles ready. So I'm going to cover about half of my tab. You can see the glue only got onto about half of that. I line it up with the edge and stick it down, and then make another one. So there we go. That is the basis of one of these. Now the next trick is to make the kickstand. Another one of these artist cards folded in half this way. Wow, Shane, I'm glad that you found out you didn't have cancer. I think, let's see. I think I use this ruler as my guide for how far to go with those. Fold them so they have this shape. And then cut just a slight bit off, leaving the tabs. So leaving those at full height, cutting a diagonal from somewhere just a little ways up on the fold to the point just before the fold of the tabs. And those kick in like so. And we have, these are, let's see. There we go. And that's it. Now, the last trick I will show you before I just get into mass production are the info, how this gets made. So I have a template in Photoshop where I make my labels. And I print these out on half sheet labels. They are an Avery, let's see, they're an Avery 5126. And it's just a half sheet shipping label. I can fit 4 of these per sheet. And I had to make a Photoshop template where I have all this stuff already laid out. I'm going to do it on the one that just has 1 for now, just to make life a little simpler. I bring over my light pad for this part, but you can do this vertically on a window pane, whatever works for you. So unstick the sticker, put it upside down, take your sign, get it registered. Stick it down. Light pad gets out of the way. If you have a glass light table, you can cut right on it. I used to, but it was a little too bulky, so I've switched to a LED plastic one. Because this is the only sticker on this label sheet, I don't have to worry about being too careful. And then just trim away this excess. All the trash, and ta-da! A new one of those. Kickstand just gets put in like that. And there's a new sign. Like I said, this can slide to different angles. If it's too shallow, it doesn't want to work real well. But there we go. So I have a bunch of these to make. Let me show you the other cool thing about making these, which is that occasionally I have ones that are old. And the information might not be as good on them. This one I have out because I'm remaking it because one of the flaps came off and I used a business card, and I also had to tape part of it down because I was at a convention and didn't have glue stick. This one's just beat up. This one's getting pitched, actually, all the way down. Pitched. I already have the remade label for it, so it's going away. But like the German print, this was a one-time thing. All right, I had them, they're now gone. So I can take one of my labels here. The only trick you got to watch out for is, because there's an up and a down on these. Boy, that's really hard to see, I realize. If I turn that off, does that help? There we go. The tabs on the back go all the way to the bottom on one edge and don't go all the way to the top on the opposite. So you always want to make sure that the one where it doesn't go all the way up is the top of the sign, and where it goes all the way to the bottom is the bottom of the sign. So as I'm lining this up, I'm keeping that in mind, and I can just put it down on this new one. Get my light box back out of the way. This one, I do have another sign over here, so I need to be a little bit careful. Just trim up to the card. I'm going to take that label and re-stick it on here. Oops. What did that get stuck to? Oh well. Just trim the excess. And I've reused that old sign. So that one's good. Okay, now I need to count up and see how many of these I actually need to make from scratch now that I've made one for you. I'm open to any questions, by the way, if you guys have any. I'm thinking that I will clip that little part that I just did that's kind of the demo of the whole thing for YouTube or something like that. Turns out I don't need too many of these. 4, 7. Looks like I just need 7 of these. And I can reuse. Reuse that for sure. Can reuse that. I'm going to keep that one around. Okay, so I can reuse 2 that are dead. So I'll put those off to the side for now and just focus on making new ones. So I need to make, what did I say, 7 minus 2, so 5. 2, 3, 4, 5 of those artist tiles out. And obviously, you can use any size of this that you would want. The only trick really here is that the width, when I put the little tabs on, is just so that these kickstands that I make want to go in and stay in. Now, if you wanted to make something that was wider, you could certainly make a wider kickstand. It's just that I'm using ready to go artist cards. How many years have I done San Diego? I have done it. Let's see. Wait, let me do this math first. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I first exhibited at San Diego at the Archaea booth in 2006. Oh my gosh, is this really that simple that it's just half of the ruler? It's half of the ruler, folks. That makes life easier. Forgot that. What's the provenance for the font that I used and other materials? The provenance. The font that I use is what I'm now using for all the Mouse Guard merchandise. It's one that I purchased. It's a little rusticy looking, but also kind of has a medieval class to it, as opposed to just a really rustic, runic kind of a looking thing. The other materials, the artist tiles, I think somebody from Strathmore came and handed these out one time. And they come in 6x6 and 4x4. So we use the 4x4. Sometimes we just use them as scrap pads when we're at a convention. We need to jot down a bunch of information that we need to remember. Because when it's on paper, we forget. So, or we'll lose it. So you jot down some important information on one of these about like people you need to email back or things that have sold from the website or whatever, so that when you get back to the hotel room, this thing in your pocket makes a difference and you keep that information. Okay, get my glue jig going again. No, I didn't make the font. I didn't make the font. Nope. I haven't made anything like a font. I've tried before to make a font. It is a huge pain in the butt. So I guess I shouldn't say I've never made a font. I should say I've made a font that is a really hard thing to get so that it works the way you need it to all the time. Okay, so there's a blank one done. And these are those things that, you know, these signs are those things that over time you come up with the way you want to do them. I'm sure that there are other people out there who have their ways of doing it that they love. They might look at this and just say, oh, that's a little too much work, or they might go, I don't think those are fancy enough. The nice thing is, once I have some of these, until they get pretty beat up, I don't have to make more of this kind of thing, or unless I have enough new products that I have to make new signs and I can't sacrifice any of my old ones. This year I'm making new ones because I'm going to have 2 locations at San Diego Comic-Con. I will be sitting at a booth in the illustrators area, 4901, and I have a whole blog post about it tomorrow going up about where you can find me and what merchandise I'm going to have and all that good stuff. That'll go up tomorrow. And then I'll also have my Artist Alley table. I'll be going there probably once per day to do like a signing. I haven't decided on the time yet. I think Julia and I will decide that once we're kind of on the ground in San Diego. My sister Kirsten is going to be going to San Diego. It's her first time ever going. And she's going to be handling my Artist Alley table for most of the weekend. Like I said, I'll be over there several times throughout the convention doing signings. She'll have some Mouse Guard merchandise. Part of this is because I've been in that spot for, gosh, like 7 years, that exact location for, I think it's 7 years. And 6 or 7 years, something like that. Because I've been in Artist Alley for a while, but at one point they moved. They moved Artist Alley, and so the table location doesn't really match up where I can say, like, I've been here since blah, 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 because the table number doesn't match up, and the space certainly doesn't. But yeah, I've been in Artist Alley in that spot for quite a while, so I know that there are going to be people who come looking for me there. And instead of just turning down the Artist Alley spot, we thought it makes sense to have almost like a satellite location so that we can point people to where I am, especially with this the first year I'm going to be somewhere else. But because of that, we're going to double up on some of the merchandise. She's going to have books and prints and pins and some things like that that I will also have over at the booth. Just to kind of make it so that the two are different. There'll be some things that you can only get from where I'm sitting, like original art. And some of that's not like to make it, ooh, it's exclusive, but it's just a matter of the space at the Artist Alley table, or how do you have original art at both locations. So I'll have original art with me over at the booth. That's it, by the way. I'm done making new things. Let's see. Do I have enough of these? I have 4. I should probably make a couple more of these just to be safe. But yeah, so some of the things will be available at my table exclusively. Some of the things, or at the booth exclusively. Some of the things will be available at Artist Alley. Any reason for moving to the other booth? Yeah, so Artist Alley at San Diego is 4 feet of space. It's one table, or it's one. It's half of an 8-foot table and one chair. You are not allowed to bring another chair in. So every year when Julia and I go, it means that we take turns of who gets to sit on and off for 5 days. And I understand why they have the one chair per 4-foot section issues, because you're sharing a table with someone. They're going to have a chair. If they had 2 chairs, you had 2 chairs, and the people behind you had 2 chairs. And that was 4 chairs per 8-foot table everywhere. There's no room. There's just no room. So it's just way too small of a space. Shane, you've seen me at Heroes, but at where that's a 8-foot table, I think. I can't remember if it's an 8 or a 6 at Heroes. I think it's an 8. But Emerald City Comic Con, I have a 10 by 10 booth with 2 8-foot tables, and I can make that work. Like, I have enough Mouse Guard merchandise, I have enough stuff and table decoration. I can pad out a space that size. So at San Diego, biggest convention in the country, it would be nice to be able to set up more merchandise, to be able to have some breathing room, to have a place where Julia can sit for one of our longest conventions of the year, without me having to stand and sign books kind of in the air on my arm, propping them up with my, propping a book up with my left arm as I try to sign it with my right. Whoops. That's probably enough of those. I'll make a couple more. Why not? Yeah, it's so the benefit of the 4-foot table at San Diego is San Diego's Artist Alley. As long as you get your paperwork in on time, is free. There is no fee for that table as long as you get your paperwork in on time. It's juried, and it's also by seniority. So if you have been coming regularly, you have and you haven't done anything to upset San Diego Comic-Con Artist Alley organizers, you have a really good chance of coming back the next year. But if you skip a year, you potentially lose all your seniority. I've been trying to get a booth at San Diego for about 4 years. We made the jump at Emerald City several years ago, realized what a difference it made. We also realized that would make a difference at some conventions, but not all. I mean, obviously Heroes Con isn't that kind of a show where being over at a booth would actually take away my traffic, because people are there for the artists and they think of the booths as retailers. But there are other conventions where that's not the case. That's probably enough of those. And yeah, after doing Emerald City, where I have a booth, it just made sense to go, it's time. It's time at San Diego. I can fill it up. I've got enough stuff. Okay. Time for the white pad. Did I put these over here, didn't I? Yeah, those two are reduced. Okay, hold on the brave hardcover. Yes, for New York, I do get more space. I also have to pay through the nose for that space. San Diego's Artist Alley has been on a steady decline in terms of the amount of space on the floor that they dedicate to Artist Alley, and that's because floor space is valuable and they can sell it to toy companies and video game companies and studios and all kinds of folks who... Oh, you know what? I don't want to get rid of that red. Because I still do have some of those shirts. Let's see, is there a different one? I'll sacrifice the... Oh, I sacrifice... I guess I'll sacrifice the Legends of the Guard hardcovers. There we go. And it took a long time before I was able to get space. So technically, I really still didn't get space this year. I was turned down. But I found out that there are some people who get booth space for like artist collectives, and that there's an artist collective, and it's not really a collective even like a studio. It's just like, hey, these people tend to sit next to each other at conventions, or specifically even at San Diego. At San Diego, Mike Mignola, Jeff Darrow, Frank Cho, and Steve Purcell all sit at the same booth. It's called Hot Chocolate. It used to be Jim Silkey's booth. And now a guy maintains it just so that he can still offer it to folks like that. And I made some connections there. And so I'm going to be this year at that booth because Jeff Darrow is out of the country this year and won't be at San Diego. So I have the fortune of getting his spot. So 8-foot table, 2 badges, 2 chairs, a little bit of behind the table space. Not quite as much as if I had a 10x10 booth of my own. But I'll have a little bit more space for some things. I'm going to be taking Mondo posters. We're hoping I can actually display them. One of our stops at San Diego will be to go to like a Michael's or something like that, where I can get a frame and hang one of them. Or get it up on an easel or something along those lines. I've already been told that Jeff is going to be back for San Diego next year, though, so I do not get to keep that space. But that maybe Steve can work something out elsewhere. He has a couple other booths on the floor that he does the same kind of arrangement with. And I'll keep applying also for space of my own. What I dearly love is a 10x10 booth. That's what I use at Emerald City. That's what Stan Sakai has. I know I could fill it with products. I know I could also kind of decorate it up. I've got some images in my head of how I would dress up the booth so that it's a destination, so that it attracts the eye, so that you understand that that booth is the Mouse Guard booth and not just something else. Kickstand storage. Kickstand storage. Does Archaea/Boom have a larger booth? Yeah, Archaea has a big space over in the publishers area, but that costs thousands and thousands of dollars. Also, to be able to bring stuff in for a booth that size, I think they have a 20 by 30 booth. 20 feet by 30 feet, so enormous. To be able to get all the stuff in for that show, though, there are union rules at the convention center about how things get wheeled onto the convention floor. So you can do a little bit of it with a hand truck, but if you have enough stuff that needs to come in, like all the books for a 20 by 30 booth, they need to come in on a pallet. They go in through the convention's loading docks and handled by union employees of the convention center. The fee for bringing all that stuff up is called dredge, and it's super expensive. It's also it's a thing that you have to always wait for, and there seems to be almost no rhyme or reason to when you get your stuff and how it gets delivered and all that kind of stuff. I know from other people who've had to set up, big booths that they're like, well, I'm just waiting for dredge. I don't know when it actually comes. I could be here for another 3 hours just waiting. So technically, Mouse Guard will be in 3 different locations because there'll be my 2, the Artist Alley and my booth space. And then at the Archaea booth, they'll certainly have Mouse Guard things available. There we go. It's all my new signs made. And just as a refresher, this is a 4 inch by 4 inch square card. I took a a printable mailing label, printed out my design. I could have done any kind of design here that I wanted, but printed out my design. On the back side, I have 2 strips that are only glued down in, let's see, there, I'm trying to get the right angle so that the white balance isn't bad. There we go. Oh, there we go. I have 2 strips here and here that are only half glued down. The outer edges are glued down, so it forms a little bit of a slot on each side. I have a kickstand that I have folded like so, with a slight angle taken out of the bottom, so that when these are inserted like so, it stands up like that. And that kickstand in the back also gives me the option for just putting it in part way, just past the fold, just past the fold in the kickstand, that I can then prop this up inside of a book. I can use 2 of them and have it kind of clamp over the last 1 or 2 prints in a stack. Lots of options, and I can also just slide it all the way in for storage. I take a literal stack of these to conventions with me that have all the prices for all my different things. It would be very easy if you wanted to have different pricing. Some people do like Sunday pricing, where they'll start marking things down. It would be possible for you to make price stickers that have your Sunday pricing on them and just swap out and put a new one in. If you really wanted to, you can draw over these and write down a new price or whatever, because when you get home, you can just stick this down onto a new mailing label and have a brand new sign. The mailing labels are opaque enough, you don't see the old stuff coming through. And they don't have to just be for pricing. I'm trying to find my, there we go. I have one that just says the Mouse Guard series starts with fall 1152. Just infographic. But I have ones here for products that I don't even have readily available anymore, but ones that I think I could have again in the future, so I don't paste over them. But yeah, those are my table signs for conventions. I had gone with different types in the past. Sorry, I'm trying to get the zoom to work, or the focus to work. Let's see. Show you some other versions. I had done one that would have gone like, let's see, I need to split this again. I'm making kind of a miniature version of it, but something that's made out of cardstock that's just folded in half, like so. Just a little tent that has something handwritten on it. I had made them in a way that they folded. Oops. Shouldn't have done that on the scissors. I should have just trusted my eye. That just folded and went together like that on the bottom. And then they come apart and they can be folded flat. These just got a little too flimsy. By the time you made them big enough to do what you wanted them to do, I felt like they in terms of enough visible real estate where you could really read the sign. They got a little overbearing. They also didn't always want to sit flat, just like that. But yeah, I've done different kinds of things like these. Made the kind that would be like a piece like this that had, writing on it that would say, $10. And then on the back, you'd do a kickstand just like this. Glue this on, and then I've done things like that. But these inevitably get bent and ripped during storage, and then you try to put them back up, and they're doomed. So yeah, I designed these. I think they're great because they also, like I said, work for a couple different, in a couple different ways. They can be propped up on top of stuff. For the t-shirt ones, I actually put one of the kickstands in, and then I take a popsicle stick. Let's kickstand in here. I take a popsicle stick. I don't have a popsicle stick handy, so I'll use this ruler. I put a popsicle stick in like that. And now this is longer, and I can put it behind my... I have a wooden board that I stretch the t-shirts onto. And I can do a couple rubber bands across that board, and they hold that on. So no tape, no nothing like that. Also, when it's time to close down the booth at the end of the day, and I don't want the tablecloth kind of messing these up, I can just take the popsicle stick and the sign all away at the same time. So I really feel like these have a really versatile way of being used. And yeah, that's pretty much my stream. I know that was only about an hour, but I just wanted to show you guys my table signs and show you how I make them and the ways that they can be used. And if anybody has any questions, now's the time, because I think I'm going to end the stream. I said I might do some art later, and I still might, but I think I'm going to come back later on in the evening to do art, if that's okay with you guys. Right now is the time of day where the sun is hitting this room really hard, and it's super warm in this room. And if I put on a fan, you guys can't hear me. So I think I'll knock the AC by a couple degrees for an hour or so and see where that gets us, and then maybe come back after the sun goes down in this room. I've got some things I need to get done around the house, so yeah, that'll be helpful. Does anybody have any questions? Kat, welcome. I see that you just came in. Also, this way this video isn't too long if I want to share it with some other folks as a video about making these signs. Nate Pride, hey man. Hi and bye. Sorry, Kat. I tried to stream succinctly. I said I was going on at 4. I made some new convention signs. And for people who are just coming in, I can show these again. So these are the convention signs that I put up showing my pricing in front of books or prints or any of the merchandise that I have. I use 4x4-inch Bristol cards that are called Art Tiles from Strathmore. They come in 4 and 6-inch varieties. I use the 4. And then I use, I don't know what I did with the packet. I use these artist trading cards. It's basically a business card or a trading card size pre-cut thing of Bristol. I'll take one of these and I'll split it lengthways in half. I then only put glue on half of that half, and I'm able to make 2 rails that go on the back where only the outside edge is glued down. There's still a slot that can be accessed on this side. A second one of those cards is cut just slightly and folded in such a way that it looks like this. And then those little tangs go inside of the slots. And I have a sign for my table. The printing is all something that I design using fonts and stock art of mine in Photoshop. And that way I can change my pricing between conventions if I want to, etc. I print these out on Avery brand half-sheet mailing labels. The 5126 is the ones that I use. It's 2 labels per sheet, but I can fit 4 of my design on a single sheet. Here's one that I've already used half of the label on, but I can get 2 on one of these, boop, boop, and then 2 on the other half. Print them out, and I did it on a light box to register to make sure that I was getting the sticker on the card in the right place. But you can also use a glass window on a sunny day, and then you trim off all the excess, and you have your signage. They can all be visually similar. The kickstand can be stored this way, inside of it. It can also be put partway in and then tucked into the top of a book, so that a book standing up vertically can have one of these sticking out of the top of it like a bookmark. Except the only part that it's grabbing onto is the kickstand piece and not the actual sign. So the entire sign is visible. So yeah, that again, those are my convention stand-ups, my convention signs.